everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Untold Truth. This is the podcast where we literally punch racism in the face. Tonight, we have another amazing episode where we'll be talking to one of the most amazing people you're ever going to meet in your life, Jessica K. Moore. She's all the way out in Detroit, and this is just a short introduction of just some of the amazing things that she has done. Jessica K. Moore is the CEO of Moore Black Press, executive producer of Black Woman Rock, and founder of the literacy-driven Jess K. Moore Foundation, an internationally renowned poet, playwright, performance artist, and producer. And she's a distinguished 2016 Crest Arts Fellow, a 2017 Knight Arts Foundation winner, and a 2013 Alan Locke Award recipient from the Detroit Institute of Arts. Moore is the author of The Words Don't Fit in My Mouth, The Alphabet versus the Ghetto, God is Not an American, Sunlight Through the Bullet Holes, and her forthcoming collection, We Want Our Bodies Back, which is an amazing book. Get it, and all the others. Her poetry has been heard on stages like the Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, and the London Institute for Contemporary Arts. She has performed all over the world. Jessica Moore believes poems belong to everywhere and to everyone. Moore recently won a 64,000 Knight Arts grant for a large-scale Afrofuturistic ballet, Salt City, a techno-choreopoem. You have to help me with that, Jessica, when your time
Oh,
comes.
yeah, I got you.
She's she's a highly respected poet among hip hop artists, recording with Nas on his 1999 Nostradamus album. Her recent recordings include the track Eternal Reflection on Jeezy's Church in the Streets and Poetry Suite on Karim Regan's Head Not Sweet project. She's signed to Talib Kweli's Javadi Media label, who put out her first album Black Tea, The Legend of Jesse James, which features Jose James, Roy Ayers, Talib Kweli, Wordsworth, One Bellow, and Ursula Rocker. That was a mouthful. I tried my best. I hope I did it justice.
It's awesome.
you
It's
need you
awesome.
need to help me with that one word.
So choreopoem. So choreopoem is it comes from Black theater, from Intozaki Shange's For Color Girls, and so it's poetry and dance. So it's choreography and poetry together. So
Okay.
choreopoem. My Salt City piece is a Afrofuturistic piece based in 3071. It's all Detroit techno music. So Juan Atkins, Mike Banks, Jeff Mills, Derek May, all those folks' music inside. And the story is beautiful. It's an Afrofuturistic fairy tale based in futuristic Detroit, and it's about. We first did it was 12 dancers. We got it down to 6, but so they're speaking and they're moving at the same time. So it's movement and poetry. It's beautiful. I'll
That
bring it to
sounds
South
that
Africa
sounds
one day. I promise. I'm gonna
that
bring it.
sounds like a vibe, and we definitely have to do that. Well, everybody, now that you know, Jessica K. Moore is in the house. So hi, Jessica. How are you doing?
I'm good. It was so great to meet you in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
That was a
yeah.
deep place to be, man. I haven't Tulsa hasn't quite left me since I've been there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's troubling and interesting, but definitely like talking about like the ground zero for the cause and the fight for reparations would be in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful to be there, deconstructing people, watching people deal with their white privilege. My brother Dr. Eddie Moore, shout out to him and our brother Glenn. I was just with Glenn Singleton of Courageous Conversation just a few weeks ago at the CERC conference. So I got to see Glenn
Okay,
again.
cool.
I was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, me too. I just saw him as well. He probably told you, yeah. I was kicking it with him a little bit.
Ghana,
Yeah, no, in South Africa 2 weeks
South
ago.
Africa. Oh, I'm so
He was in
jealous.
South Africa when I came back. I got him in South Africa, and then we hung out for a bit. But yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma was amazing. We met at the conference, which was amazing. I mean, by chance, we were standing on the steps, had a conversation, and it just turned out we were cool
Here
and we
we
had it
are. Let's
going.
get it. I'm
Next
honored.
morning, we shared a cab.
That's right. We're to the airport together, man. No, yeah, but anytime I meet someone that says the word South Africa, I'm always like, because I just want to come back, and we could talk about all of those things, but because
Yeah,
I have been in a few times, and I can't wait to be back again.
yeah, absolutely. And as you heard it, Jessica is an amazing poet. Just been announced as the poet laureate for Detroit City, which is amazing. One of the a big achievement that so many people can only dream of. Her latest book, We Want Our Bodies Back. I mean, it's poetry for the soul, poetry for Black women are taken care of in this book, which is so needed in this world that we live in.
Come
So
on.
big ups to you for that, my sister.
Thank
But
you.
let's get into this. Let's get into tonight. Jessica K. Moore. Who are we dealing with? Who is this person?
I'm
Talk
a
to
I'm
us about who that person is.
Oh my God. So I'm a poet first. But I'm an institution builder. So I grew up in the Black city of Detroit, you know. So when I go to places like Detroit, when I was growing up, it was about 95% Black folks. Now it's about 85% because of gentrification. So I grew up with Black mayors and Black school system, and but I grew up on the border of Dearborn. So I grew up across the street from, I'm in Detroit, but Dearborn was across the street. So I grew up around, in Dearborn, we have the biggest population of the Arab population in the country outside of the Middle East. So I grew up around kids from Lebanon, kids from Palestine, lots of kids from Iran. And so I walked through that to get to my predominantly white Catholic Polish grade school, which is very strange. So all of these things are in Detroit. It's a kind of a segregated city. It's not as it's diverse, but it's more diverse now. But it was very segregated when I was growing up. Like Black folk
Yeah.
most Detroit, and then Dearborn had the Arab. Then we have Polish neighborhoods. We got a Bengali neighborhood in Hamtramck, and we have a Mexican population in Southwest. And so, but I grew up in a place where Black people were running their own thing. So I didn't like until I moved to New York. I moved to New York and Brooklyn, 1995. And that's when I felt like I was living in a police state. I was like, there were just police everywhere. But I'm a child of the metaphorical child of the Black arts movement. So if people want to put me in context, Sonia Sanchez, Hakeem Adabuti, Amiri Baraka, Intezaki Shange, Jane Cortez, Lucille Clifton. These are my teachers, literally and figuratively. I read them when I was a little girl, and I found them when I moved to New York City, and they found me back.
Wow.
So like
Wow.
before my life changed when I was around 22, 23 years old. I was living in New York for all of 5 months. And I had met the last poets, Abiodun Oyewole and Babatunde and Umar Ben Hassan, the last poets. I'd met them and done a show with them in Detroit. And I met them in Detroit. And then they said, if you ever come to New York City, you call us. So, you know, people, you think they're full of shit. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
people, you come to Detroit, you call me. If you actually come to Detroit, you better call me. But people don't. And I went to New York and I was in on 125th Street going to see my cousin Alexis graduate. And I called Abiodun. And he said, come over, come to my house on Morningside Drive. And I did. And he basically been my papa ever since. So the last poets,
Wow.
if people know who the last poets are, these are the godfathers of rap music. Took me on the road when I was just 22 years old, and I was opening for the last
Wow.
poets. So these are like, and Mary Baraka, big influence in my life. Amiri Baraka just took me under his wing. I traveled with him often as well. We did shows together. I sat under him, you know, learned,
Yeah.
became better, sharpened my sword. I was a fiery activist and poet that wrote in the tradition of Black arts movement writers. Okay, not writing poems for poetry's sake, writing poems to make change, writing
Yeah.
poems to move people to action. As a young activist at Wayne State University, I went to Michigan State, Wayne State University. I was studying journalism and political science. All I did in college, Edwin, was take over my universities. Like
Yeah.
that's what I did, you know. And I tell students now, if you haven't taken over your university yet, then you have not quite graduated from college. You have not done the thing
Yeah.
you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And just to kind of fast forward to see these students now, wow, like I was on the campus of Trinity College at one of the encampments a few weeks ago because I went for this educational dismantling racism conference in Connecticut. So Trinity College is very private, very rich college. My friend Kaim Kelly, who's an amazing MC, rap poet, and activist in Connecticut. He's a troubadour of Hartford, which is like
Yeah.
similar to being a poet laureate. And I love him very deeply. And his daughter and son go to Trinity College, both super smart kids. And so they took me to the encampment, which is really amazing. And I told the students there, I was like, these, like Angela Davis said, when she visited the encampment, I don't know where she was, where she went to probably a few of them, said that you are the students we've been waiting for. And when I've been traveling, I have been
Yeah.
traveling universities since my 20s. I did all the college. I did colleges nonstop, all the like mid 90s to 2000. I do universities now, but not like I lived on campuses in my 20s.
Yeah.
Um, and there was so much I just found the students to be very apathetic. I was like, "Where's the
Yeah.
fire? Where's your fire? Why aren't you
Yeah.
organizing? Why aren't you fighting back? You're paying your parents are paying this tuition. Get the books in here that you want. Get the professors that you want. Make sure your professors, your black professors, are getting tenure. Like we fought for these things, right? So it was in
Yeah.
my blood to fight that way. Like at Wayne State University, where I was in the middle. Wayne State University is sitting in the middle of downtown Detroit, predominantly black city, was not closing classes on the Martin Luther King holiday. So in
Yeah.
1993, I was I was a co-president of BSU and on the exec board of the NAACP, the student chapter, and we organized and we fought and we got it. We took over the student center. We boycotted the student center. We sat in front of the president Adamani's office. Rest in peace, David Adamani. But he got a
Yeah.
library named after him now. But we fought for the day off and for them to acknowledge Martin Luther King, where he spoke. He did the "I Have a Dream" speech here before he even went to Washington D.C. How are we to have classes open like it's just a regular old
Yeah.
day? And so, so I was an activist, student activist, and activism was a part of my work. When I went to New York, I became a poet. So I realized that because I was attaching myself to all these organizations, right? And I decided instead of attaching myself to a bunch of organizations, I'm going to become the organization. And my work is activism, and my writing will do the work that I think I'm trying to do with just being an activist everywhere. Because I mean, I've been on the street so much. Where I watched the new kids when George Floyd was murdered, when Mike Brown was well, I couldn't help myself. When Mike Brown was murdered, I met Talib Kweli and Rosa Clemente and the Peace Poets and other artists. We couldn't take it anymore, and we went to Ferguson, and we were in Ferguson for I don't know about a week, and then we came back and did fundraisers for Ferguson. So I mean, I was on the ground in Ferguson. My son was very young. And my other son, Omari, was calling me saying, like, could you please come home? What are you doing? You're grown. You're 19 years old anymore. But you feel like you have to go. You know what I mean? And I remember we had this huge fundraiser at Ferguson. Pharoah Monch was there, and Deb Mutulu and one of Deb Prez were there, and Common came, and Mark Lamont Hill came, and that's just what we do, right? Because we're not artists out here, like we're not capitalists just trying to make money with art. We're trying to change the world, right? And so still very much an activist in that way. But I definitely at George Floyd. It was Mike Brown. It was Mike Brown where we got forced to get on the ground, and we had AR-15 at our back, and I was pretty traumatized. You know what I mean? I was like, I went to college. I had children that love me and like, what are you doing, mom? But that's why we go. You go because you have children, so they can have a better life, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Couldn't agree
activism has
more.
been a part of my work as a writer, and and the books and the work has changed over the years. I'm very much a woman, so like the we want our bodies back. Like how you say that. I feel really it was special for you to say that because the book is taking care of Black women's bodies,
Yeah.
and no one is going to take care of our bodies more than we are. We have learned. The politicians certainly aren't going to take care of us.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not all men will, and so we have to take care of each other.
Yeah.
And so that's all of it. My life is all inside of the work, and my work is the life. It's no disconnect. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
homes are over here and my life is over here. Everything is in there. If you
Yeah.
depending on what book you read, you'll know who I was married to. You'll know which husband. You'll know, the heartbreaks are there. Like I don't hide. And I think women poets in general don't hide inside their work. They really, which makes women poets like very special because we just put it all out there. I don't hold
Yeah.
anything back. So yeah, that's part of the life work. It's an extension of the
that
life work.
that that's what built where you are today as a poet laureate for Detroit. I mean, it comes with all that richness and being in touch with all that experience and the beauty of what you have been called to do, and having all of those people touch and spice up your life to make you better. I mean, that's just a phenomenal and amazing experience.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how amazing it must have been being with those people and being inspired by them, knowing what they represent, and giving you that little bit extra that you needed to be who you are today, you know.
That's
And I hear
right.
you. I mean, this is why we do what we do. Our activism is built upon creating better lives for our children. So we basically take it as fuck it, I'm gonna do it because it doesn't matter if I'm old and ugly and don't my ass can't do anything
Ain't
anymore.
nobody
I'm
on
gonna
this
be out there.
podcast. Ain't nobody on this podcast ugly. So I'm gonna retract that
Oh,
statement. Ain't nobody ugly on this podcast. Well, whatever. Your wife would
yeah.
disagree. Your wife would
Yeah,
disagree.
she definitely would. She got a catch, yeah. So here's the challenge, right? I'm gonna throw that at you. So
Yeah.
I said we're gonna do a little piece here right in the front, and then
Oh,
we're gonna
yeah.
end over the piece. But I'm gonna test and just see. So from your earlier work, right, when you were still like green and ready to take down the whole system, one person at this whole on the front line saying fuck racism, fuck racist, and all of that. So, do you have something like that where you can share a bit of your writing with us, a poem?
You want to share something from my earlier work?
Earlier work, if you have, yeah. Is there
Earlier
something
work.
that hits you that you want to give us a bit of?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Yeah. I mean, my early, like, so my poem, I don't know if I know it by heart. The poem I did, I have my first book is somewhere around here. The poem I did on the Apollo, it's so old. I couldn't, like, it's a poem that I couldn't read right now. Um, this is a short, let me do something short. This is just
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
put in my mouth. It's my first book. It came out in 1997. So I probably wrote this poem when I was like 19 or 20 or something. So
That's the piece.
let's do it. Okay. Oh, so it's called Genocide, and it has a line. It has the word genocide, and the line is going through the thing. So it's just some alliteration. Uh, Disappearing down, dangerous downgrades, don't dread, die down in dungeons, doped up dummies, delivered the light, devilish deeds done. Damon, Darnell, Derek, Duran, Dez, and Dennis died from genocide. Jump higher when the bullets are shot at your feet. Just pray to this God and chew on this meat. Jonathan, James, Joanne, Joe, and Jack are all in jail for life just because they're black. Hurry, hope to hoop, hanging in hell have to hide from genocide. Politicians putting pate on pizza, push proposals, pretending punks, paying prices, moving our people without power, perpetrating plastic pansies, awful plate to place a piece of apple pie. Paul, Pascal, Paris, and Pete just died. Schizophrenic, stereotypical, stationary steps, stop secretly saying sorry. So somebody's slave, stand still, sinking sails on salty seas, save, stone, smoke, seriously saying stories, sabotaging silence, saying somebody stole sight and sound from Saman, Sadiq, Stephen, and Sam. Damn, another one of my brothers got that disease and died. Gotta find a cure for genocide. So that's a little short poem. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Love
me.
it.
So
Love
19,
it. Love it.
21.
Love
But
it.
the poems I did
Wow.
on the Apollo. So if people don't know who are listening to your podcast, in 1995, I was asked to audition for Showtime at the Apollo, which it then was one of the biggest television shows on in the world, in the country, for Black entertainers. So they had this thing called Amateur Night. You go to amateur, they still have it. You go to Amateur Night. Steve Harvey was the host at the time. And it was a huge show. Every hip hop artist that's a hip hop, Wu-Tang Clan, Nas, the Fugees, Brandy. I mean, if anybody, everyone was doing that show. So I came
Yeah.
on as a poet and I did a poem. I mean, I was asked to do it. I got on the show, which was crazy as a poet. And I didn't think anything big about it until I got there and I realized, well, this is a really big deal. And then my life changed after that moment. So I won 5 weeks in a row with poetry. And
Wow.
that was October of 1995. The show aired the last week of December 95 and all of January 96. And I haven't had a day job since. And so I haven't worked since then because I built, and which is different from me, Edwin, and other poets, is that I built an institution around my work. That I
Yeah.
built this thing called More Black Press. So that woman on my book with the logo, that's a woman with an afro
Yeah.
holding a book up to the heavens. You don't see it on this book because this is HarperCollins.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
this is my fifth book, but it's not my first book. It's my first book
Yeah.
on paper. But these books are with God is not an American, or with the sister with the afro and the
Ah, I see. Yeah.
that's more Black press books. God is not my American is like my I don't know, my second book, I think, or third, something like that. So and so I say that to say that the Apollo was the launching pad for
Yeah.
me. And there's a Black space in Harlem. You know what I mean? These are Black folks who are not, they will boo you off the stage. If you know anything about the Apollo Theater, if you come
Yeah. Yeah.
on,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
not correct, they boo you. But I won 5 weeks in a row, and I had a lot of opportunities. I was signed, I had managers, booking agents, people looking at me. And instead, I started More Black Press. I started my press and I published The Words Don't Fit in My Mouth. I took my money from my gigs, started my institution. And then the first poet I published, I wish I had Saul's book, was a man named Saul Williams, who's a pretty famous poet.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
wasn't as famous then. I published his first book of poetry, The Seventh Octave, and my sister Marcia Jones, who's Saturn's mom, they have a beautiful daughter together, did became my art director, and she did the beautiful blue cover of this womb women, a beautiful painting. And I started my work as a young publisher. And
Yeah.
so I published Raz Baraka's first book of poetry, Black Girls Learn Love Hard. He's now the mayor of Newark, New Jersey. So that's the son of
Wow.
Amina Baraka. And and other poets have come. Asha Bandeli's book. I published like her second book of poetry. Great poet and activist that I also looked up to for many years. And I told her, "You're gonna be the first woman that I publish." And I'm still doing that work, you know. So now I'm doing
Yeah.
it. So More Black Press. My first author that's coming out in August. August 13th is the release of Everywhere Alien, an amazing poet named Brad Warren. His book is coming out on More Black Press, Harper Amistad. So now I have international reach and a distribution and imprint deal with Harper. So this book did very well, which helped me position myself to be able to do them to help more poets get their work out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, the more you speak about everything that you're trying to achieve and what you're doing, the more I hear the heart that is coming through of who Jessica Kim is all about. And it's about being the hand that lifts up and not the hand that takes from everybody in order to be bigger and better, right? And I think that for me is the type of spirit that I am drawn to more often than not, because that's what we need in the movement. And I think that's what I felt with you from the beginning. It's just this need to do more to empower our people and to give more of our people a platform so that they can propel themselves to greater things without expectation of us having to be alongside them or next to them, because in and of itself what we do for others will propel us where we need to be if we
Right.
do it with the honest and a genuine heart. And I think when you say all these things, it just leads me to think about those things. But more importantly, as an activist, how difficult is it to do activism, especially anti-racism work currently? I know a lot of my peoples out there are struggling because the books are being denied in
Yes.
schools and other spaces. They are being boycotted and being threatened with death and other things by all these white supremacists. How is it being an activist, and how is it doing activism currently in America?
Oh, it's difficult. And let me just say this, my books have already been banned. And that as an independent Black book publisher, I've been fighting for position inside schools and inside bookstores my entire career. So all I know is being outside of it and finding
Yeah,
ways to get people books. So I do events inside of places that aren't even bookstores. I read my poems on rooftops. I don't care. I'll go to the liquor store, to the gas station, to the movie theater. So we also have to think about other ways to get our children what they need. And
yeah,
also we have to build schools that we run,
yeah,
and we have to build curriculum that we own. And so with this
yeah,
Detroit Poet Laureateship, the only thing I've been talking about many things, but the main thing I'm talking about is building the curriculum. So I'm building a poetry curriculum that's going to be, I'm hoping I'm pushing towards all Michigan schools, but definitely all the Detroit schools, where I equip them with the curriculum. It's not just Black poetry. It's poetry. It's a contemporary American poetry, and it's inclusive of Black people, right?
yeah,
And so so that's what we must do. First thing is the education system is unfortunately controlled by the government, and so we have to get
yeah,
government away from our schools, and we have to build independent schools.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by self-reliance. We were talking about that before we got on, but it's like, how do we I'm not relying. Let me just say that I have a 17-year-old free Black child in my home, and I raised him and I educated him. The schools were my assistants. Like,
Yeah.
I needed
I
him to go
love that.
somewhere so that he
I
could,
love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
have peers, like his friend that's here, they're working on a film. Like, he needs that, but I'm his first teacher. And so
Yeah.
parents, but I was an adult when I had King. So just to be clear, I wasn't like a 19-year-old. So, but we have to educate our children first and send them into schools prepared. And the
Yeah.
things that we're not gonna teach them, we have to teach them. So the biggest
Absolutely.
thing, instead of, like, we could worry about banning books, but what I would love to see is the people that have to build libraries in your homes.
Yeah.
Hello? Where is
Yeah.
your bookshelf? Where are
Yeah.
your King don't gotta go anywhere for books. They are in the
Yeah.
dining room. We got books are in the bathroom. They're in my office. I don't care if you don't read them. He got books stacked on top of books. He can't even
Yeah.
get to the books that I've bought for him. So we have to build our own libraries inside our home.
Yeah.
We have to make sure we're not relying on the American racist, white supremacist, European lens. I mean, I was learning Whitman, Frost, Shakespeare. No, so I'm saying
Yes.
dead white men. That's it. Robert
Yeah.
Frost, and I learned Emily Dickinson. That was it. That's it. They didn't teach me Alice Walker in school. My mother gave
Yeah.
me My mother gave me, Lorraine Hansberry. Maybe they mentioned Maya Angelou. Maybe they said Langston Hughes' name. Maybe. No. The reason why I know Ntozake Shange's work is because my theater teacher, Susan Story, the Black Box Theater saved my life in Cody High School. I went to a regular Detroit public high school, not a fancy school, on the west side of Detroit. And they had a Black Box Theater and a great drama teacher who brought For Color Girls. And she brought For Color
Yeah.
Girls in there, and I was like, this is the most. I was in 10th grade, 11th grade, maybe, and blew my mind back with that language. And I was like, what is, because I was writing little poems and stuff. Who is this woman with Intozaki Shange? What's that?
Yeah.
So I hit the library on Joy Road near my house, near my school, and I found Audre Lorde, Alice Walker, Sonia Sanchez, Black Arts. I found Dudley Randall's The Black Poets Anthology. Ate it up, found Larry Neal, Mary Baraka, like people that feel like they were being hidden from me. So I'm this little girl,
Yeah.
Black poet, who has poetry in her body and her DNA already. And I didn't know I had all these teachers and all this history and this Black arts movement, Harlem Renaissance, things I wasn't being taught. And I
Yeah.
at a predominantly Black school. And
Yeah.
so we have to, community, world, globally, we have to do the work of making sure that we know that there's South African poets and writers, right, that are connected to like this. Because when I went to South Africa, for the first time, my mind was blown because so much of the South African poets that I heard read sounded like we had Jim Crow and apartheid are such a connected thing.
Yeah.
Like, apartheid is Jim Crow to next, on steroids. It's crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But there's connections in the separation, in the divide and conquer that apartheid does to people, that Jim Crow does to our people here. And so we have this connected story, this painful thing that we have, right? But if people understood that we are connected, like our children need to know that they're connected to the world, brown and Black children in
Yeah.
particular,
Yeah. Yeah.
but even all children, like white students need to know, white children need to know the truth. And they
Yeah.
need to read Black poets and writers too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're forced
Absolutely.
to read these dead white men that had no relevance to our life. I like Walt Whitman. I like some Robert Frost poems. I like The Raven. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm here for that. But you're leaving out like a whole other half of you're reading
Yeah.
all European writers. And so we have a segregated education system here, whether people want to admit it or not. And even the people that are paying for private school are getting segregated education. And it's all white supremacists. It's all white supremacy embedded inside of the education system.
Yeah.
And I can't mama everybody. Got
Yeah.
King. I can get him to the promised land. But how do we find a way? And we have this thing, we have this power of the internet.
Yeah.
How dare,
Yeah.
and I'm in Detroit, we're having a conversation, right? How do we make sure that our children are having an international conversation with other
Yeah.
children? So that's the only way this thing is going to change. But I'm not waiting for any institutions, unless I built them or my people build them. I have
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
You're touching on self-reliance and ownership. And those are the things that Black people don't have at the moment. That's the one thing that, while we're mobilizing, we are lacking in solidarity because we don't own shit. And so we still dependent on a system that doesn't work for us. And so we have to learn um, intercontinentally how we build this movement so that we can, like you say, rely on each other, because we have so much in common, specifically South Africa
Yeah.
and the US, because like apartheid segregation, we share so much that was the one taken from the other, but the impact on Black people was the
Yeah.
same. And
Mm.
so we can definitely work on that. But it also speaks, like you say, we cannot rely on the system, and the system is controlled by the government. And then it segues into this concept of upcoming elections. Um, uh, all I hear in the US right now, we also have an election in 2 weeks' time, and our shit is as messed up as it is over there. We have very limited options on genuine leaders that's going to take us forward in this country, and so we standing at this point, we most of us don't know who we're voting for because it's so few of good character that we can select.
Mm.
On your front, we speak and we listen and we follow, and we see you have two dudes that should be in a retirement home, and nobody else is even mentioned or looked at. And so, where's your thoughts on politics and the
Wow.
upcoming elections for the US?
It's a very sad time, right? I'm focused on the local. My dear friend Hill Harper is voting for Congress here. I'm voting for Hill Harper. I'm running. I love him. He's my neighbor. He's a good person, and I think he's going to be great. And we need. I think we need a Black presence in Congress, and we don't have one right now out of Michigan. So locally. I'm more excited and galvanized right around on that. The November election for the presidency, I'm completely disgusted by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I'm disappointed. I voted for both of them. Voted, of course, for Obama when Biden was the vice president. And I've met him before. He's met my son. I was on the executive board of the NAACP some years ago, no longer am, but still very, close to that organization. And disappointed. He was just here yesterday. He was the keynote speaker, and of course I didn't attend. I don't think I was invited, but I didn't attend. And it's really, I think this country, the people in this country, and I watch the Black people, these Black suit and tie um individuals. I'm not going to call them names, but these people
No.
who really feel like there is no, like they're voting strictly out of fear. And I was like, I cannot. I'm just told even my son and I had a nice debate about it. He's like, Mom, you can't vote. If you don't vote for Biden, that's a vote for Trump. And I said, we've been doing that for a long time. Like my entire life, my voting has been the lesser of the evil. And I just draw the line at genocide. And this country is committing a genocide and putting my son and our children in danger for the
Yeah,
retaliation that is sure to come, possibly. We never know when, maybe not tomorrow, but one day. And it could be our
yeah,
children in danger. There's nothing diplomatic about genocide. You are
yeah,
saying it's okay to kill brown children, Muslim children, mothers that are giving birth, starving. They're starving people to death in Palestine. And so it's personal for me because I don't remember not knowing about Palestine. So Palestine is the new information. So I see these psychotics on Instagram, and every once in a while I delve in. Every once in a while I get online. Sometimes I just try to avoid talking to these mindless bots because a lot of times
yeah,
they're just trolls. And I was like, don't engage, don't engage. And sometimes I just can't help myself because for them to pretend like what happened on October 7th is horrific. Nobody wants
yeah,
children. My son could be at a festival. I don't want him to die at a festival. Like nobody wants any children or young people to die. Israeli, Jewish, Muslim, Palestinian, Black, white, whatever. Nobody wants people to die innocently. Well, not me anyway, and not sane people. But I know these politicians, these governments will take out some people
yeah,
just make a thing happen, right? And so I don't trust
yeah,
what happened October 7th was just because of the intelligence that has come out that nobody looks at, that they didn't know it was going to happen. There's so much evidence to say that Israel knew that the attack was going to happen, and so I don't trust it. But what I don't believe is that the the answer to that is killing all of these thousands and thousands of innocent Palestinian people. Now, that was your agenda. And the first, you wanted a reason. So October 7th, because it was horrific and because they took hostages, and that's not, nobody's promoting that. That's horrible. But you're using that moment to say, okay, let's kill all the Palestinian people. Like that's
Yeah.
trying to kill they're trying to wipe them out. It's
Yeah.
ethnic cleansing. It's criminal. You cannot starve people. Most of the population is children. These are things that they know. You're
Yeah.
killing babies. And so
Yeah.
I am not voting for Biden. People are mad at me for that. I don't care. I'm not. I'm voting for Cornel West. If the other end, there's another woman that's running on has a strong independently. I don't even know her name because I'm just been pro Cornel West the whole time.
Yeah.
But if she gets it, I'll vote for her. But I think that the people who are sane, who are down with the Democratic Party, got together and said, okay, we're going to put all our energy towards this other candidate, this third party candidate, then it's possible. But it's because that's all America is conditioned and to think that we can only be a Democrat or a Republican. And they have not
Yeah.
been fixing this country or moving us forward, the Republicans or the Democrats. There's things that Biden has done for just American people, for taxes, like, things like that, for
Yeah.
student loans.
Yeah.
So people go down the list. If you go down that list, yeah, Biden wins over Trump when it comes to just like domestic. But terrorism and like genocide and like they're using our tax dollars, and like the people here don't want to bomb Palestine.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I voted for you and I'm telling you, and then if you do a poll, the polls say we don't want it. Why are you buying? Why did you just, okay, what was it, $1 billion in
Yeah.
arms?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's very difficult because
I can see that.
it's difficult. It's difficult
Yeah.
because we're in the space, like, what are we supposed to do? And that's why I have to always go back to myself and say, Jessica, these white men do not run your life. And we have to figure out, like, because we're talking about abortion rights. We're talking about women's,
Yeah.
like that's, Trump gets in office, we're in trouble when it comes to that. So, but it's
Yeah.
about local. But if you vote locally, if we got, like, Michigan is a safe space. They tried to take it from us, but we're a safe space. So safe cities. We have to find a way to take care of women and girls'
Yeah.
bodies. Women and
Yeah.
girls have to take care of women and girls' bodies because that old Supreme Court that needs to die off, those white supremacist Supreme Court justices, until they die off, they're there forever, which that's ridiculous to me. Like their term, I'm like the poet laureate.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's enough. Supreme Court shouldn't be there till they die. They need to go away. And what this system needs, I mean, we know we need a revolution. We really do. And people are scared of revolution. They're scared of like try like because I was with dismantling racism in Connecticut with I had like I don't know a minimum of 50 teachers or something showed up in my workshop, and it was amazing. And the workshop was just me just talking, and I said, well, these teachers who are scared to teach what they really want to teach because they don't have control of the curriculum, and so I'm
Yeah.
like, well, instead of talking about dismantling racism, you need to dismantle the school system. You're not dismantling. You have
Yeah.
to dismantle the system that you're working inside of. Like, you can't just dismantle racism. If your boss is racist, that you have to
Yeah.
become the boss. So I'm like, teachers, find a way to build an institution with like-minded individuals, and I'll send my babies and every child I know to your school. But
Yeah.
it's about raising the consciousness level of people so that they feel empowered enough where they actually have some autonomy over
Yeah.
their lives. And here we're just giving it up to these two old, like you said, white dudes who need to retire. One psychomaniac. I mean, of course, I'll never vote for Donald Trump. He's a psychotic. He's not well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm questioning whether Joe Biden is his senility at this point. Like, beyond him being a part of a genocide, is he well enough?
Yeah.
I would say no. I would say no.
Absolutely, and I think you touch on a bunch of important points right there because we have to understand that the system have multiple parts and we don't all have to do the same things, but we have to find the things that's going to be more impactful for where we serve and where we are located. Cornel West, what a guy! So definitely not a bad
Okay.
place to put your vote. Absolutely, speaking truth to power for decades. Um, and we cannot and should not ever put a green stamp on genocide, and we can never support genocide. uh, the extermination of a nation based on what happened on October 7th or whatever, that is no excuse. It's absolutely ridiculous. The world need to show their power, their collective power, and get Israel to stop this shit immediately. It should have been done long time ago. South Africa have been fighting in the courts
Yes,
because
yes,
no human life should be lost at the hands of warmongering idiots that pay billions and billions that could have gone to reparations in the US for all the shit they've been doing.
exactly.
So that's not even a conversation to be had. I think the one bright shining light from all this nasty genocidal bullshit by all these white supremacist idiots running and making the decisions around this is
Mm.
probably the current uproar and
Ah,
uprising in
our students,
revolution
come on,
of the
babies.
students in all the
Woo!
universities, colleges, and teaching spaces. That's probably the biggest hope that
Look
there
what they're
is a
doing to
future.
our
You
babies.
know?
Look what they're doing
Yeah,
to our babies. Look how they're sending
yeah,
the police after our babies in UCLA, beating
yeah,
them,
yeah,
beating them up, tear
yeah.
gassing our children.
Yeah,
Our babies.
Columbia as well. Columbia did it as well. Columbia
Columbia
University.
was the jump off. Columbia, shout out to Columbia University students. I mean, they
Yeah,
people like me were just like, oh wait, they're awake. The students are
yeah,
actually awake, man.
yeah,
And so
yeah, yeah,
and that's the thing that I and this so my son will be 18 in November. Like these are
yeah,
voting. These kids can vote. They're trying to get them
yeah,
expelled. They're not able to, trying to ruin their right to vote. There's all this
yeah, yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
They'll be able to vote in November. And so they're the ones. I mean, that group can get a third party, can help us get a third party elected. Like people,
yeah,
I'm like, that group isn't gonna vote for Biden. You can
yeah,
forget about it. You know what I mean? You're sending in the military armed police for unarmed students. Dude, like, yeah, and it's
peaceful protesting though.
so with Jewish students in alignment
Yeah,
with Palestinian students, with Black students and white
yeah,
students, all there together. I've been to some of the campuses. It's not one-sided. It's not just all Palestinian. It's like no. And there's so many Jewish, and I know the difference. I got Jewish comrades. They are fighting, fighting, fighting for Palestine to be free.
yeah,
Israel won't be free. What they don't realize is that Israel will never be free until Palestine is free. Like
yeah,
that's your freedom because the karmic reality of that space that you colonized and took from Palestinian people is never going to end. It's never
yeah.
going to end. All they want to do literally is
Absolutely.
to kill them in Rafah, and they put them in a place where I mean, I just for my son, to be watching this unfold in his young eyes, it's just it's very sad and traumatic where we are.
Yeah,
So so
I,
my only reason I feel is because of the students um, and because I know that it can only get better because look at our
yeah,
next generation. Look who's coming after us. And
yeah,
these are voting children, smart children.
yeah,
So I think the world is going to be in better hands. But we've been saying that forever, for decades, thinking that they're going to all die off. These racists who are just ruining the world, money
yeah,
hungry white, and it's white supremacists,
yeah,
and it's like racism is it's so silly. It's like just
yeah,
stop. We are brown black people of color are the world majority. But we teach our kids to call themselves minority, and I reject it. At Michigan State University, the like student of minority student affairs office. I was like, I'm not going in there. I was like, I'm not a minority. I was like, they're the minority. They're the minority. They're the majority on this campus, but they're not the minority. They're the minority on the planet. But
yeah.
we present them and get raised up to say that this is the superior majority, but they're not. And I'm like,
Exactly.
they're all from Europe. They're European
Yeah.
Americans. And
And
then
we are the global majority. Just to take that care of that, black people is the global
that's
majority. There
that's
is no two ways about that. But you touch on important points as it relates to the fact that these students are what we have mentioned and been saying, that
Mhm.
it's our ancestors' wildest dreams to see these young lions stand up for justice and for what is right, And regardless of where they come from, what they look like, who they vote for, their religious beliefs, their sexual orientation, and anything like that, did not dictate the fact that justice for one is justice for all, and they will fight for that shit until the end. And that is the hope that we have currently in this world, that our children are literally, like you say, they are empowered, they are conscious, and they are not going to fall for this bullshit that is
Right.
linked and built through white supremacy and capitalism, because with white men it's all about the profit. And so
Money. That's all about.
um, while money makes the world go round,
Humanity needs humans. I've said that.
exactly, exactly,
We need
absolutely.
humans. We need humans to show us that we're. I read a poem for Charles McGee, a very famous Black sculptor and painter from Detroit, is passed on. He would have been 100 years old this year, like my daddy. And the thing he said was the war was the greatest enemy of humanity. And
Mm,
and
true.
it truly is. And I said, but this is the only way that we win. Like, this is the thing we can win as human beings. We can say collectively, I'm telling, like, if those were all European Jews getting
Yeah,
massacred by the thousands, I would be on the front line just as fast. You don't
yeah,
kill children in
absolutely,
it doesn't
absolutely.
matter
It's
what religion, what color.
exactly, that
And I,
doesn't matter.
not to us, but like when
Yeah,
you're saying that you are fighting for Palestine, there's this other ridiculous group that thinks that means that you hate Israel, you hate Jewish people, which is ridiculous because we know that we don't.
yeah,
Innately, and Black people in this country have a long lineage with working with the Jewish
yeah,
community for civil rights movement.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
it's not the truth. Um, and so so it's just and people are having to unlearn. One of my other mothers is a Jewish woman named Mariam who was with SNCC. She was part of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. She got Black children from Detroit, and she's on this great book called Freedom, Hands on the Freedom Plow. And she's a Jewish woman, that's how she was raised Jewish. And she said she
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
realize
yeah,
Zionist ideas until she went to Israel for the first time. She was named Marilyn, but they gave her the name Mariam. And
yeah,
so she was like, I had to
yeah,
unlearn. Many of my friends have told me that writers and activists, Jewish ones, had to unlearn what they were taught. And they
yeah,
did, yeah, what they were taught was just wrong, wrong information. And that's okay. It's okay to
yeah,
unlearn, and then relearn. I'm always
yeah,
learning. I know everything. I'm always learning new things. And my coattail's been pulled before, and I had to go, oh, wait, what I said that time. Okay, I had to learn some more, get some more information so I
yeah,
can articulate it correctly. And that's what it is. And that is a dark place, as they say, for some people to realize
yeah,
that everything you've been learning was kind of a lie. And
yeah,
yeah, and so
absolutely. Yeah.
okay, so I don't know how much time we have, but I want to read better poems than the ones that I have more
Now that
poems than that.
that was amazing. We and I'm gonna give you time. You know, I have one of my favorites that you say
Yeah.
you haven't read, but I want
Mhm.
you to read that one for us. Before we conclude, I want to check in with, we're doing the conference in 2025, and poetry is going to be part of the conference, because I see our collective solidarity and movement towards an anti-racist society have to factor in music, art, activism, and all these things,
Oh yeah.
poetry. It all has to factor in and
Mhm.
work together towards building this anti-racism movement and a global movement at that, to overthrow white supremacy and to take back what belongs to us. Either
Mhm.
way, and so hopefully that you will be coming to South Africa with us in
I'm
2025.
coming.
And whenever else that you hear, like you said, the offer to, you always call me when you come. That's
Hey,
always on the table. You're gonna call me when you get here.
I want to come in
Um,
2025 for the conference, but I hope to be there before 2025.
yeah,
If I can, even in sometime before this year is up, I'd like to come and
yeah, yeah.
visit.
That would be amazing. When you have it ready, you let me know. We're gonna kick it in the Cape, Western
Yeah,
Cape. I'm gonna set up some things. We're gonna make it amazing, because you are amazing. It's gonna be
thank you.
easy to do. So
I'd
I'm
love to
all
be there.
about that. Yeah, I'm all
I
about
was at
that. And
the university when I was there. I performed at the university once when I was there. My
yeah,
first time coming to South Africa, I went to Durban. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
at the
yeah.
Havisham Center. I had a residency there for 2 weeks, and then
Okay, cool.
I was living in Durban at a printmaker shop. I haven't talked to those folks in years, It was deep though because they're British, but connected to they have land in Zimbabwe. So it was when
Okay.
the farms were being taken back over.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It was a real deep time to be in their house. I was like, so the conversations were heavy,
Yeah,
heavy.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I learned a lot because the woman that worked in their home, everybody spoke Zulu. Like it was very interesting to be in Durban. But when I was there, went to Johannesburg, and Sonia Sanchez was speaking. I think I told you the story.
Yeah,
Sonia Sanchez was on a panel, and I met oh God, what's the brother's the activist? His son is there. He's very still active there. I know you know him. Um, it's the very famous South African activist. It's his son that lives.
Biko. Biko's
Yeah,
son. Yeah,
I
yeah,
met
yeah.
Vico's son, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
learned some different things, like about people different. When you're in the States, you learn one thing about Nelson Mandela, right? And so I knew
Yeah.
one thing, and so I go there. It's just more layered. It's more complex in South
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
I learned, right? I was like, oh, okay. And so I'm listening to South Africans tell me about how they feel about politics and South African politics and language and which language, because there's so many different dialects and different languages. I don't know how many in South Africa, but several. So they were having this debate over what language should be taught in school.
12,
Which,
12. We've got 12 now. And and
so,
and I'm gonna tell you something about that that links to critical conversation we have. We have 12 official languages in our country at the moment, right? Most recent that was adopted as an official language was sign language, right?
oh,
But
beautiful.
one of the languages that remains excluded from that list is the indigenous people to South Africa, which is the Khoi and the San, who is the original people of all people in the world. We is the originators of all human beings. We all have Khoi and San in us,
Mm,
and yet our government refused to acknowledge our people, our indigenous people, and they refuse to acknowledge and accept our language as an official language in this country. How
wow.
sad is that? That's one of the saddest tenets of our reality currently. Is the
Make it make
disrespect.
sense. Make it make
It
sense.
doesn't. There is no way. So, but yeah, we're gonna talk a lot about that. We're gonna form some more things as we go along. Our
Yeah.
time is quickly running out. We have two things on the list that we need to conclude. One is you need to tell us about the movie coming out.
The
Excited about that.
movie,
Tell
yes,
us
I'm very
about the
excited.
movie.
So for poets who are listening, during the pandemic, I had more time on my hands, and so I decided to finish a film script that I had been dreaming about years before, and it's called "He Looked Like a Postcard." I raised all the money to make the film independently. I raised about over $400,000 with a small group of people. As a poet and writer in my career, I've never asked anybody for anything, and so one of my friends, Lasana Hotep, um, African studies scholar, heard about that I wrote a movie. We're talking, and he said he would give me some money. Then other people, I said okay. And I stopped being scared. Started believing in my project. And Qasim Basir is directed the piece. I have Tobias Trevelyan, wonderful actor, beautiful man, and friend of mine plays Motown. I play Serendipity. But this is a movie for poets, for dreamers, for women who have children who think that they can't make a living out of art. It's a beautiful love letter to Detroit, and it's a magical poem. It's a magical. I say a poem because it's like Eve Ensler, who's one of the producers on the film. She wrote Vagina Monologues. She came and she invested in the film. She she said it's just one long poem. So that's what I think,
Oh,
that it's really a poem, and it's a poem with some dialogue and some love in it, and some beautiful Black love in it. And but it's about self-love more than anything. It's about me
yeah,
finding a, it's my character Serendipity finding a, and I play Serendipity in the film, me finding a way to write my life into existence, using my
yeah.
imagination to write myself into existence. So we are premiering at the American Black Film Festival. If anybody's listening, it's going to be in Miami. It's Thursday, the 13th of June at 10:30 a.m. We're at the Miami Convention Center, and we're going to have a big party during the day somewhere on South Beach, and that night will be at the Anamdi Gallery. The Anamdi Gallery is a Black-owned gallery in Detroit that also has a gallery in Wynwood in Miami, and so they're hosting the night party there for us that night. So a lot of
Wow.
Detroit is going to be there. I'm so excited. I'm excited because we premiered the festival Hopefully we get some people that want to buy and license and distribute the film. But we're gonna have a beautiful screening that people have been waiting for in Detroit. So yeah, and and I'm acting in the film, and I didn't write it. I went from me to actually be in the film. I wrote it for some younger poet to be in it. And Kasim Basir was looked at me like, he gave me that for like 24 hours. I was like, no, I'm not going to be in it. He's like, you're not going to be in it? I said, no, no, no. I'll just dramaturge someone and teach them the poem. And that lasted for 24 hours. And the next day I called him. I said, do you think I should be in the movie? And he was like, you're the director. Would you cast me? He was like, you have to do the movie. So my
Wow.
son's in the movie. My nephew plays my son. My nephew, Jaden Anthony Moore, plays my son, Idris. Idris is my son in the film. I made Idris that name because it's one of my favorite names in the world. And so shout out to Idris all over. And my childhood high school friend from drama who came out of that Black Box Theater at Cody High School, Nikki Gilbert, who's the lead singer of a group called Brownstone that people who probably have heard of. She's an R&B star. She plays my best friend Chuck in the movie. And it's just beautiful. My Omar Regan, my dear friend, Muslim comedian and actor, plays my best friend Kenny. And we made it in 2 weeks. But the
Wow.
post-production is very difficult. I've learned a lot, but now I'm a filmmaker and I plan on selling this film for several $1 million. I'm claiming it, and so I could pay my investors back who invested in me and make another film. So more
Wow.
movies.
I'm excited, and I can't wait to hear what part I'm gonna play in the sequel.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. Get it. No, I come to South Africa. We can maybe shoot something there.
We
Such a
can
great.
shoot a few pieces down here. Absolutely. Listen, this has been so amazing. You are amazing. Everything that you've been doing is so inspiring. I think that when we put this out in the world, that there's South African poets out there, and people in that space that don't know what the space is above them that they can reach for. You are
Right.
showing them that it's beyond the limits of the sky, which is amazing. And everything that's coming your way, we bless
Right.
you and we hope that it's
Thank you.
tenfold so that you
Thank
can do even more, because the purest of purest hearts reside in you, and it's what we need more of in this world. And so we are blessed to have this moment with you. We thank you for coming on the show, and having this conversation on this podcast with us.
you.
You're gonna lead us out with some poetry,
Well, yeah, this is poetry. Yes, you asked for it, so I'm going to
which
read
is
the poem you wanted, and maybe if I have time, I'll do one more. But I'll do the one you wanted, and
you.
I do say, yeah,
Yeah.
time.
No, you say no, no, no. We good. You say what you want to say.
Okay, I was also for 20 years I've been producing Black women rock. So I do want to say it's my 20th anniversary. So for poet, I'm a poet that produces and executive produces something called Black Women Rock that supports Black women in rock and roll. And our 20th
Wow.
anniversary will be in Detroit, August 31st. I haven't announced where yet because the announcement is coming. But look for please follow Black Women Rock on Instagram and on Facebook. We're there, but Black Women Rock on Instagram, and then me, Jessica Care. Please find me on Instagram and hit me up. I check my DMs. Don't flirt with me. Don't want to be flirted with. I do want to make alliances and connections with people all over, especially in South Africa. And so this is because if I don't write, and I don't ever read this poem, so this is for Edwin because he chose me to read this. So let's see. Because if I don't write, my body will finally cave or I will evaporate. Because if I don't write, Black girls won't know I left them a trail of tears to find themselves so they can get lost again and one day find me. Because if I don't write, someone will say that Sylvia Plath and Emily Dickinson did not shit on a toilet or ever go outside. Intozaki Shange would never discover rainbows. Maya Angelou won't ever speak. And I will have to convince myself that a man who is 5'6" can actually date me. Keep writing. Because if I don't write, my fingers may fall off, or my tea kettle may melt and lose its defiant whistle, or the Detroit Pistons would have never moved back downtown. Because if I don't write, you will write for me. Tell historians that Black girls were crazy, invisible, lost in time, wishing to turn our bodies inside out, become unrecognizable to our own mothers, desecrate our faces because we hated our own mirrors. Because if I don't write, there will never be a superheroine named Salt who will save the future by her ability to simply see herself in it. Because if I don't write, I will live in fear, die with hope, never laugh, fight, or dream, just cope. Because if I don't write, you will write me off or academically erase me. I know prophets have died for PhDs. I write to live, to prove to Black girls everywhere we are possible, and the world we created with one comedic push belongs to us too. So
Ooh.
that's for you. I
It's
like that
fire.
poem.
I
That's
love it. I love
poem.
that. I mean, when I read it, it was
Yeah.
fire. Jessica's reading from "We Want Our Bodies Back." Brilliant, brilliant book. You need to get it for
Available
yourself.
everywhere,
So,
everywhere.
so I'm just gonna, I'm gonna give you one more. Right. This
Okay,
is
I really
all
like this.
you. This is all
Awesome.
you. This is the part where I say to people, if you have a message for our people out there, if you're gonna inspire our people with anything in the world right now,
Wow.
what
Wow.
would that be? What would you be giving them tonight?
Okay.
Now it's over to you as we end off.
Oh wow. Okay, now you made me look. I switched the poem just like that. I was going to do something and now I'm changing it. So this is called I Am Not Ready to Die. So
Mm.
this is for young girls and artists who are, because when you're a young girl, woman, and the artist in this industry, they push you and they try to control what you say, what you wear. Think you have to get naked to sell a record, blah, climb on the floor, all these things. And if I'm ever naked on stage, trust me, it's because I felt like being naked. It's different when you're choosing it, but no one is telling me what to wear, what to do, what to say in order to sell something to a market. And so that to me, that's death, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to die. I'm not ready to die a little more today. My nails are polished a bright aquamarine. My skin smells like the ocean. In my hair, I'm wearing the flowers he left on my doorstep. Tiger's eye and turquoise are wrapped around my wrists. Do I look like I'm attempting an early death? My headphones sound like Sade. I wish these new girls would get the fuck off their knees and transform a room with some subtle power and grace. Sade doesn't really dance, poet, and that is the point. When did it become okay to die in this country or any country on our knees? The Walking Dead, a 24-hour day spa, they parade in groups. Hell, I need a massage too, but at what price? I got to stand behind mediocre bars just because the kids rock to it. I've yet to hear an MC destroy the alphabet more gangster than Intozaki Shange, so I ain't ready to die today. Won't participate in the spirit massacre of our children. My throat is on fire. My pen is hot. Intozaki is dead. Intozaki Shange will never die. I'm more alive at 47 than most of these wannabe Euro inside out millennials. I graduated from digital slavery masterclass. I read books without screens. I have sex with men my age whenever I feel like it or not. I love my hair, my ass, my breasts. I'm clear my power is between my ears, inside my chest. Black girl magic doesn't grow between our legs. This is the mythology of men. How much to get off your knees, sis? This poem is a knife. This pen is a knife, stabbing out the hearts of dead trees. These trees are already dead anyway, a walking dead urban forest. We are surrounded, so why continue to climb, to write? Because I ain't ready to die today or tomorrow. I'm going to keep living inside poems. You didn't know what left for you. If you just get off the goddamn floor, you will see all these poems, all this royalty, all this world they attempt to kill you with. It's really your universe to inherit, to change, to rebuild. Get off your knees. Stop crawling for them. Stand up, Queen Latifah, Light, Lauren, Missy Elliott, Left Eye, Bahamadia, Rod Digger, Roxanne, Rhapsody, Kate Valentine, Mama Soul. Microphones are not stripper poles. Sonia, Audrey, Maya, Intozaki, Jane, Lucille, Nikki, Tony, Asha, Stacey Ann, Kira, Mahogany, Elizabeth, Lisa, Liza, Michelle, and Daggy, and Cello, me, us, we need you to stop dying, to be less than who you were destined to be. We need you to outlive death in all its forms. Live, so patriarchy can finally die.
Woo! That was fire. That was fire.
Thank you.
That
You put me on
was
the spot. I was like,
Jessica
let me say it.
Kim.
Woo, listen. I'm coming to South Africa to read all these poems. I can't wait.
I can't wait to have you here, sis. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, and I
Everybody,
want to
thank
go
you for
back to
tuning in.
Soweto too. I want to go back to Soweto so bad. I taught the babies. I taught workshops in Soweto, and the kids stole my heart there, and I want to go back. So
You can come back anytime. We will make sure that we make it an amazing time. You are now connected to kings and queens of the soil, so we're gonna make it amazing. You come back home, we do what we do, and we can't wait to have you there or to see you here. And then for my people out there, that was Jessica Kim. Well, what an amazing episode! What amazing work! Amazing woman doing the most for our people. Until next time, this was the Untold Truth, and we can't wait to have you back. Have a good one. Take care.
bless you. Thank you.